Hey, what's up guys? So today I am in my kitchen because a couple days ago I pulled all of the summer stuff out of my garden. And with that came a bunch of mostly ripe and some unripe fruit. And today I am spending all day in the kitchen processing all of that because a lot of it does have to be processed pretty quickly in order to not go to waste. And there's also the fact that I literally don't have room in my fridge to shove it all in there, even if I wanted to. Oh, hi Draco. You want to be picked up? Ooh, you've got some sharp claws, buddy. Anyways, I haven't been making very much content besides the garden tours lately, and that is because I have been incredibly busy with my real job and also just processing a lot of the food as it comes out of the garden. And so today I am just taking you guys along with me. I'm not, this is not for teaching you how to do all of these things, although I do have a couple videos that I'll reference that do go more in depth about how to do the things that I'm doing today. But I mostly just wanted to hang out with you guys and kind of give you a glimpse into how I'm managing all of this produce and what a full day in the kitchen of somebody with a garden my size might look like. Okay, so here's a quick list of everything I'm trying to get done today. I am going to be making some salsa from my red tomatoes and my green tomatoes. I'm going to be making baba ganoush with all of my eggplant. I might also make some ivar, which is a Serbian roasted red pepper eggplant thing. And I'm going to be making, starting my Tabasco sauce ferment with all of my Tabasco peppers. And if I have time, I think I'm going to also blanch and freeze some of the green beans that came in. Welcome to my messy kitchen. It is currently the cleanest it usually is, and it'll get messier as the day goes on. But if any of you guys, before anybody asks, this spice rack that I have, it is handmade by me and my dad, so I can't like tell you to go buy it anywhere. But the cool thing is it's got these like plastic plexiglass, I don't know what you would call it, in front of everything, so it keeps it in but you can still see it. And that was an idea from my dad, which I think is pretty smart. And any of you who don't already know, he does have his own woodworking channel. I always link it below in the description. It's called the Red Truck Wood Shop, and he makes some pretty cool stuff, so y'all should go check him out if you're into that. And yes, I do have a chair in my kitchen. It started out as being for the cats to be able to sit with me and watch me cook, but now it is just like, it's good to like maybe have something broiling in the oven and be able to sit the chair in front of it and watch what's going on in the oven. So I am starting with salsa because the salsa is going to need to be canned. That's going to take the most time. I have this pot that I picked up from Walmart like a few years ago. It's just like a big roasting pot, but I use it as my water bath canner. And so this takes a long time to heat up like this huge volume of water. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this filled up and started warming up before I do anything else. Oh, and I should mention, even though I got this just from Walmart, it did come with this insert in the bottom, I guess for steaming things. But I use it for canning because you do not want to be just putting jars straight on the bottom of a giant pot with water because they will break. So I've got this massive amount of tomatoes that were still on the tomato plants when I pulled them, and I'm just going to separate them into green and red so that I can make green salsas and red salsas. I know green salsa is traditionally made with tomatillos, but I've been making it with green tomatoes for a couple years now, and I think it turns out great. Big bowl of green tomatoes and a big basket of red tomatoes. I've set aside some of the prettiest green tomatoes to bring to my partner's family dinner for fried green tomatoes later this week. The rest of these are going to be salsa, and I am using even the little ones. There's nothing wrong with them. They're perfectly edible, so they can go into this salsa. So I'm gonna start out with red, just randomly. And basically all I'm gonna do is chop them in half and put them on a baking sheet and broil them in the oven. As I'm going through, I also remembered that I have these tomatoes, which I protected the blossoms on, so I know for sure that the seeds are gonna be true to type. And the way these are, I'll show you. The seeds are like really well contained in the middle, so the rest of the you can kind of see here right there in the middle, they're pretty well contained, and so the rest of the flesh is still super usable. So I was waiting until this, I remember now, so I could pull the seeds and then also finish using the flesh of these tomatoes for something. So I am gonna go ahead and scoop these seeds out into my jar. I think I mentioned I have a video on saving seeds from cucumbers, and for tomatoes it's basically the exact same process. It's a slight fermentation to get the gel off of the seeds, and then a rinsing and drying process. Look at how gorgeous and red that is. Oh, some of these tomatoes are just absolutely perfect, and I didn't even intend for that. Like the last few days before the frost, I really just like straight up neglected my tomato plants because I didn't really think that there was going to be much on them, and whatever is on them was going to be green anyway. And then I started looking under leaves and I found all of these lovely red beauties. And then because I neglected them, some of them split and have a little bit of mold growing in them. But I'm just going to cut that part off, and if the inside looks fine, it's fine to use, especially in a salsa like this where I'm going to be roasting them. Shouldn't be any issue at all. Yeah, inside looks great. I'll just discard that top half. Look at that. Gorgeous. Always leave your oven open when you're broiling, because you want that steam to escape. And I still have red ones in the fridge that I picked like a couple weeks ago. So I think this is going to be like a whole nother tray. Once these cool down enough to the touch, I usually pull the skins off of the ones that it just seems to be like falling off of. I'm not super particular about getting all the skins. And it is really important, at least for the way I do it, for these to be pretty much room temperature before I start trying to blend them into salsa. Because I have had like multiple times that I have tried to blend hot tomatoes in my food processor and had it just like explode at me like all over the kitchen. I am still finding dots of salsa like in random places on the ceiling from when I did that. But ever since I've started waiting for them to cool all the way down, I haven't had that issue. As I was getting peppers out to go in the salsa, I was reminded that I also need to pickle a bunch of peppers today. Well, my cilantro looks like this, so this salsa is not gonna have cilantro. Well, now that I think about it, I do have time to go to the store, and I did want to get some red peppers because despite all the stuff that I have and have harvested, I am severely lacking in ripe sweet peppers, which I would need to put in the Ivar. So I might as well go and get those and get some fresh cilantro while I'm at it, because despite my best efforts, my current cilantro that I'm growing is like this big, and the heat-loving cilantro plant that I tried to grow this summer got blown over at some point and just like snapped at the base. So it was completely dead after about like 2 months. I have not had my own cilantro or cilantro flavored thing for like 3 or 4 months now, and it feels really sad because I tried so hard. Well, 1 hour and more groceries than I really meant to buy. I am back with my cilantro. Now for the fun part, taste testing. Determining if this is spicy enough. Honestly, could use a little more. Alright, 4 small, somewhat old serranos later. I don't know, guys. Kind of think I need to add some more. So the thing with these serranos is, first of all, they're frozen. And second of all, I did not grow them this year. I'm not even sure that I grew them last year. I think it was the year before that. I had a bajillion of them. Yeah, it must have been the year before that, because I think I harvested these out of the apartment garden. Anyways, so they could have diminished in spiciness over time, and also because they're homegrown, like I find that there's quite a bit of variation in how spicy each individual pepper is. So adding 8 of them to this volume of salsa is not that crazy, all things considered. I think I finally got the spiciness right, so I'm gonna fill these jars and start them canning before I start the second batch of salsa with the green tomatoes. Got a bit of a hodgepodge of jars here because I am down to my last few jars of the season. I think ideally the jars would all be the same size for canning, but for tomatoes especially, I feel like putting them in a little extra long. Where's another clip? Putting them in a little extra long to make sure that the big jar is fully canned. This is not a big deal in my opinion. You could be really militant about it, but I've never had any issues with mixing sizes, and because this is a roasted salsa already, cooking it extra in the canner doesn't change the flavor all that much. So I'm also trying to slowly transition over to weck jars, which have completely reusable tops and gaskets. This is my first set of them, so I'm still just like kind of trying them out, seeing how I like them. But I think it sounds like a really nice idea that I wouldn't have to buy all new lids every single time I want to can with these jars. Now, the fact that I still have these jars, you know, I will probably keep using them for a very long time and have like half that need lids and half that don't. But as I buy new jars, I would like to have them be reusable if these do indeed work out for me. The only thing there is to not like about them so far that I've seen is that my jar holder, like it'll technically hold it, but dude, look at it. I don't trust that. So if you work with these jars and you know what to do about that, I would love to hear. Alright, so I just put the second batch of salsa into the canner, and because the canner is going, the next thing to do is pickled peppers, because these, once they're pickled, are also going to have to be canned. I have this entire bag of mostly banana pinos. This is the color that they are, ripe, kind of brownish. They are a cross between a banana pepper and a jalapeno, and last year they were very spicy, but very delicious, and I use a lot of pickled jalapenos in my cooking, so these are going to be great for that. And then I might choose a few of these. If my jars get full, I'll choose all the rest of them, but some of these are going to get frozen for like somewhat fresh use, not pickled use. Okay, well, I've gotten done with the salsa and with the pickled peppers that I can do, and now I'm moving on to Tabasco sauce. This just needs to start today, and it's going to ferment for about 6 weeks. So this is a pretty quick process to get it started, and I do have a video explaining how I do Tabasco sauce. I just learned from the internet, but I made a video about it to share it with more people, so more people would have the opportunity to find out how to do that. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to actually separate these into the ripe and unripe peppers, because I don't know how the unripe ones are going to affect the taste of the sauce. So I was going to make 2 sauces and taste test them against each other and kind of just see what, if any, differences there are. And then after that, I am going to start roasting my eggplant. I have this entire bag full of eggplant, and it's been a couple of days since I pulled it. I don't know if you can tell, it's like kind of squishy. It's not like nice and firm and fresh like it might have been if I had room to put it in the fridge. But because I'm roasting it, that doesn't really matter. It's gonna get super squishy anyway. Which makes this like really great for lazy people like me who don't always get to their produce on time. But for both the baba ganoush and the ivar, I'm going to roast these in the oven, same as I did the tomatoes and stuff, under the broiler, and just get a good black skin and then peel off the skin. Both of these recipes that I'm going to use, I will link below if you want to check them out. They are really quite good, and what I've been doing is freezing this in cubes and reheating it and using it as like a quick lunch or dinner. I'll toast some frozen naan and microwave these cubes, and then I just scoop with the naan and eat it like that. It's really easy and satisfying. I was actually really surprised at how well it reheats. You really can't even tell that it was ever frozen, which is like perfect. And now I am working on the floor because all of my counters are full of food. Good problem to have, you know. Big kitchen days like this are exhausting, but necessary for having food going forward from the garden. I'm always really exhausted afterwards, but I'm really proud of myself and really grateful that I have all this food to put up, have you ever thought about the fact that you can go to the grocery store at any time and get pretty much any food from all over the world? That is wild. And it's really only recently that it's been like that. And previously, you could only get stuff that was grown locally in season in your area. And so going through this process, it's not only satisfying to me because I put in the effort to grow all of this food, but it really makes me appreciate and grateful for all the food that is available in my life, year round. Well, it is 8:13 p.m. And I just roasted my eggplant, and I'm realizing that I've been on my feet for 9 hours at this point. So I'm probably gonna peel this eggplant and then put it in the fridge and come back to all of this tomorrow. So I will see you guys after a little bit of rest for my body. So it is the next day, and as usual, yesterday I bit off more than I could chew. Even though I have done all of these processes before, for some reason I thought that I could do them all in one go in the same day, and maybe if I was a perfect human with endless energy, I could have gotten that done. But being on my feet was actually really hard for that long of a period of time. And if you've been following me for any amount of time, you might see that this is just kind of how I am as a person. I tend to look at a situation and think that I can do all the things. And then when I can't, because I'm a normal human with limitations, I end up disappointed in myself. And I'm sharing this with you guys because I think that this is not just a me problem. I think that this is somewhat of a human problem. And I don't want to present the facade that I can do all the things all the time, so that you don't feel like you are lacking if you can't do all the things all the time. Recognizing my own limits and asking for help are hard for me, but they are definitely good for me, which is why you do sometimes see me asking my friends to come help out with stuff in the garden, and I do appreciate my friends when they do that, but I do not have any sort of long-term consistent help with everything that I do, and I still believe that I can do all the things. And I think that that's also contributed to why you guys have only been getting garden tours lately, is just because I thought I could do all the things, and I've had to prioritize, especially getting this food taken care of, because if I don't, it's going to rot, and that would suck. And so, making other videos is just falling farther down the list. And I'm sorry about that. But as I learn to recognize my limitations better, I can overload myself less and actually have more space to do the things that I want to do. So I'm going to continue with food prep on day 2. And I'm not going to feel bad that it took me 2 days instead of 1. And maybe next time I can have the foresight to ask one of my lovely friends to come over for the day and help me out. This is first batch of eggplant from last night, peeled in the food processor. And this is going to get blended into baba ganoush. And And after that, I am going to work with these peppadew peppers that have been soaking all night. I don't think I got any footage of me cutting and seeding them last night, but these take a special pickling process that is different from the banana pinos, and so these will have to get taken care of today. A little bit of that is lunch, and the rest of that is going to go in the freezer. Usually fresh parsley would be added to something like this, but I don't have any of that, so it's gonna get left out. For freezing cubes of stuff like this, I have these little silicone ice cube trays. I got them on Amazon. I can leave a link below if you also want to get some. These ones came with this nice little silicone lid, so when I inevitably leave them in the freezer much longer than I should, they don't get like freezer burn on them. And ideally after they sit in these trays and freeze solid, I pop them out and put them in a giant plastic bag. And then I move those into the big chest freezer that I have. And so I stock up that way. I do this also exact same thing with pesto. I make cubes of it, and then I keep just 1 gallon Ziploc in my regular freezer at all times. I also do spray them with baking spray. I feel like it helps. It might just be confirmation bias, but I feel like it helps with popping them out later. Just a quick interruption, guys. It is rainbow o'clock in my house. Look at that. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. A friend of mine got me this Suncatcher rainbow maker, and it is one of my favorite things ever. Look, there's even rainbows in the kitchen from this other window that I've got. This one is different, but works the same. Absolutely worth getting. Wow, in the camera, it almost looks painted on. It is so vivid. This is so worth it. Thank you, Krista. This is one of my favorite gifts I've ever gotten. So while that is in the oven, I'm going to prep green beans for blanching and freezing. I picked out all the best ones for dinner on Sunday, and the rest of these, like especially these ones that are looking like they might be a little tougher, I'm going to boil them real quick in salt water and then lay them out on a tray and flash freeze them, and then scoop all of that into a Ziploc baggie to keep in the freezer for really the only thing I think I would use these green beans for is green bean casserole, which, don't get me wrong, is amazing. But after freezing these, I do not want to get them out and try to use them like I would fresh green beans. I've got quite a few here, and I like to just use kitchen scissors to snip off the ends real quick. Even these ends, like these ends are perfectly edible, but I just don't like how pointy they are. So I cut those off as well. Call these purple beans magic color changing green beans because they turn green when they get hot, and so it becomes very easy to tell when they are hot enough and it is time to take them out of their blanch. Alright, almost there. You can see some of them are turning green, but I can still find a few purple ones in there. Here we are back on the floor again. This time I have taken plenty of breaks. I'm not exhausted, but the counters are a mess. So we're on the floor. Quite a few green beans though. I've got a few more to freeze. I think they might just fit in this bag, and I will have one bag of green beans. I am probably going to sign off for the night. I do still have to finish the ivar, but that's just as easy as simmering it for a little while and then putting it into some more ice cube trays in the freezer. But before I sign off, I did want to take a moment to look at all of this food that I made. I've got salsa and Draco wants to be included. Come here, baby. Whoa. So I've got salsa, banana pinos, and the peppadew peppers for Krista. And then of course I've got the green beans in the freezer, the baba ganoush in the freezer, and I'm going to have the ivar in the freezer. So that is pretty successful looking to me. Oh, and I have the Tabasco sauce that I started. So yeah, there's still a few things that I have to do in the coming days, but they don't have to happen immediately. There are random peppers that need to be dried. Probably just going to dry them and powder them because I don't have enough to do a whole lot with. I will freeze the rest of those jalapenos unless I find more jars. And gosh, I think that might be it. Thanks for hanging out with me yesterday and today. And I promise I didn't plan this, Draco being here at the beginning and the end. But he is kind of just always here. Yeah, thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys again very soon. Happy gardening.